Hi, it's Leigh Richardson in your head, and I am so excited today for my guest. It's Dr. Julia Schulenburg, and she's an interesting lady, comes at things very similar to the way that I do, but a totally different background. She spent 16 years in acute care in a hospital setting, and then she switched to more holistic. She is a naturopathic doctor, and she is certified in lymph drainage therapy. And that's such an interesting transition. How did you go from the hospital world to the more holistic world?
I always treated myself naturally, actually, and took supplements and would eat well. But then what really transitioned me is when I got ill and I had some health challenges, and my son was ill. And I didn't get the answers that I wanted because I was always asking the physicians, well, what caused such and such? What caused the asthma? Instead of taking these drugs, what about this? Instead of these inhalers, I mean, surely there's got to be another way because I didn't want him on inhalers the rest of his life. I didn't want surgery. I didn't want my gallbladder taken out. So I started seeking out alternatives. So I was doing this for probably at least over a decade myself. And then when I started teaching antibiotic utilization in the hospital settings, I thought, why am I doing this? Because I don't do this for myself. So anyway, and I was seeing a naturopath, and after a while, I thought I could do this. I just need to learn about the other side of the world, that other side of medicine. So I studied naturopathic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, alternative therapies. I studied under another medical doctor. It's actually Lee Cowden. I studied under him for a number of years. I put myself under an internship, and I just went out on my own after that.
So you followed your heart.
I followed my heart. I followed my conscience. Because what I always wanted to do when I went into healthcare before, I believed in wellness in the spirit, soul, and body, and that's what I wanted to do. But in the hospital settings, I couldn't approach wellness that way.
Well, we take the same approach because it's not just, the Brain Performance Center. Well, it's not just what's going on in your brain. It's about what's going on in your body and what's going on in your spiritual world. Because if you don't have one, and I don't care if you believe in God or Buddha or Allah, but you've got to believe in a higher power.
That's right. There's spiritual health, there's psycho-emotional health, and there's physical health. They're all interrelated, and they can't be separated. But, of course, there'll always be one of those will be a primary need.
Right. And, that's where I think your primary need is more of the body and the heart, and mine is my focus is on the brain, but it's the same thing. We're coming at the frequencies in the brain, the frequencies in the body.
Everything has frequencies. In fact, the brain functions at frequencies from 0.3 hertz to probably about 33.5 hertz. That's a healthy brain function. And what's interesting is the Earth resonates at specific frequencies. Those are called Schumann. Schumann frequencies or Schumann resonance. And those Schumann frequencies emit from about 0.3, I believe, to about 33 hertz as well. Isn't it interesting that it correlates with a healthy brain?
It is interesting, because when a lot of people, they'll start off, I need to be grounded. They'll go barefoot outside to try to connect with that Schumann resonance.
With that Schumann resonance, yes. And that is also why everything else outside of the earth and plants in the ground and trees, say the ocean and all of that, they emit very high frequencies, whether it's 60 hertz or whether it's thousands of hertz, whether it's coming from radio frequencies or satellite frequencies, from cell towers or Wi-Fi's or smart meters or cell phones or the TV or the computers. Those are all very high frequencies, and they become chaos to the brain, and then chaos to our nervous system. So then our bodies accumulate harmful ions. And when we ground and when we connect with those Schumann frequencies, it actually spontaneously releases, our body spontaneously releases those harmful ions that accumulate in the brain that contribute to, say, irritability to the nervous system.
So, Dr. Julia, what do you say to the people that come in your office that sleep with their phone next to them in their bed?
Oh, I say, stop. Don't do that. I mean...
and then you tell them why.
Yes, absolutely. I tell them, think of a cell phone as a mini cell tower. Do you really want to be sleeping with a cell tower in your bedroom or under your pillow or next to your head? Because that little cell tower is emitting very high and rapid frequencies to your brain. And when you're sleeping, your brain needs to slow down and stair-step down from, say, a wakeful beta state to
where you're thinking and planning,
to an alpha state. That's the next step lower. Okay, so the brain slows down to that, and then to a theta state, which is more of a hypnotic type of state, right? And then down to an REM and delta wave state. When you're in a deep when the brain is in a delta state, it's very, very slow. Well, it's at that state and the REM state when the brain, I'm going to call it, detoxifies.
Well, and I say the same thing, except that's when I say it's when those little glial cells come out and they clean up all that toxic waste from those neurons and dendrites wiring and firing all day long. It's amazing the amount of research that's coming out that's linking insomnia to Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, that's right, because one of the I'm going to say preventions to Alzheimer's, so that the brain does not collect those harmful enzymes or those amyloid plaques that contribute to dementia and Alzheimer's. Sleep is a huge thing, but it's quality sleep. It is sleep when your brain actually is going to a deep state of sleep when it's in REM and delta. Well, how can our brains go into an REM and delta state of sleep when it's inundated with high frequency chaos from a cell phone, from Wi-Fi, from cell towers, and I'm going to say 4G networks, 5G networks? It's very harmful to the body. Now, there's some things that we can't control in our environment, but what you can control is get the cell phone out of the bedroom.
Lifestyle choices. Make some good lifestyle choices.
Yes, and you can put your cell phone on airplane mode, because then when it's on airplane mode, it's not receiving or sending signals either. You don't need your cell phone when you're sleeping.
Well, you know, one of the biggest differences that I find when talking to you and talking to a traditional doctor is that you talk about cleansing the body. You talk about detoxing. And traditional medicine talks about medicating to make it work better. And in my mind, that's not cleansing.
No, you can detoxify the body in several ways. There's physical detoxification. And that physical detoxification can be in the form of, say, far infrared sauna. It can be in the form of laser energetic detoxification, which I really focus on and which is unique to what I do. You can do detoxification with, say, liver cleanses or gallbladder cleanses, with kidney cleanses, with food. Food is a lifestyle choice. You can, and then speaking of the brain, I would say we detoxify the brain with quality sleep, with exercise, with increasing the oxygenation to our brain, to the oxygen content to the plasma.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I talk about that a lot in my book, Brain On, Game On, and it's just so basic. People are like, well, give us the secret, give us the golden words. There aren't any. It's just basically take care of yourself.
Right, it's lifestyle, and it's cheap. Okay, I'll tell you what's expensive is going to the hospital because you didn't take care of yourself. What's expensive then is medications and prescription drugs, and then when you decide to do something alternatively, supplements are expensive. Getting back into health is expensive, but what is not expensive is quality sleep. Choosing the right foods for your body and the brain. Okay.
Well, you make some really good points because it's the basic things that we can do to take care of ourselves. And sometimes, it's football season, and that's on. My husband has that on the TV all the time, and all I think about are those concussions and brain injuries. And I know that, I look at that as putting the brain back into a regulated state with neurofeedback. But you do some therapies that almost set that up for the neurofeedback.
Yes, let me talk about concussive injuries. When there's any kind of a contusion or concussive injury to the body, anywhere to the tissues or the myofascia, but I'm going to specify the brain. Okay. When there is trauma or concussive injury, fibroblasts rush to that area to prevent hemorrhaging and to prevent bleeding. So the cells stick together and form scar tissue, which is necessary for us when there is concussion or when that occurs. But then that scar tissue, then it gets sticky cells. Okay, they stick together, and it forms these adhesions. Well, where there's scarring, then there is blocked flow of energy or electrical pathways or circuitry, whatever you want to call it. Okay, neural pathways. Then there's a blockage also of lymphatic vessels and lymph fluid. Then there's also a hindrance and some blockage to the circulation. Okay, so there's a specific cranial therapy and a percussive device. It's a vibrational device that will actually loosen up, soften that scarred tissue and the adhesions. When that occurs, then all of a sudden, then you've opened up the electrical pathways, the lymph vessels, the circulation to that part of the brain. Then you follow that up with a therapy such as neurofeedback. It will enhance whatever the neurofeedback is supposed to do.
Well, one of the things that I have learned from working with you personally as a client is that the importance of the lymphatic drainage in the body. I used to think that all your lymph nodes were right up here until I met you.
Right. And this is part of, I'm going to just focus on the brain as well and the head. But 1/3 of all of our lymph nodes are just in the neck and head region. That's a lot. 1/3. Okay, and then there's another third in our gut region. Okay, everybody has approximately 600 to 800 lymph nodes, but just think 1/3 of that is just in our head and neck region. So when we go through detoxification and we want to detoxify the head or the brain, that's a lot of focus just on the upper part of our body. Okay, and there's also a lymph pump right in the center of our brain. It's above our soft palate. So there's a method of actually stimulating that pump to allow the flow of fluid from the brain and the head. So when there's any form of detoxification and people are complaining, say, of brain fog, or else they're complaining of pressure in the head or in the sinuses or around the ears or the neck, it's important to know how to drain all of that fluid just from the brain, from the head, and the neck region as well.
So is that a therapy that you use to focus on the brain-gut connection?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime there's detoxification therapies done, we need to make sure that the primary detoxification organs are decongested. I call manual lymph drainage, it's really a decongesting of the lymphatic system. Okay, so if you decongest the lymphatic system, then you're opening up that fluid in those pathways in the brain, in the gut, and if the gut is inflamed, the brain will also be inflamed. Okay, so the other detoxifications of organs are, say, the liver and the kidneys and the bowels. But there's lymph vessels all throughout all those detox organs as well. So it's very holistic and comprehensive. We can't just think about one part of the body. We need to see it as a whole, and they all work together.
You know, I talk about this in the book, the connection between the heart and the brain. And I was just amazed at how that connection, you used to think, well, it's your heart that keeps you alive. It's the brain that tells the heart what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our brain is so complex because we have the subconscious part of the brain, we have the conscious part of the brain, and it's our subconscious part of the brain that obviously we don't know what's going on. Those are repressed memories, they can be suppressed memories, they can be subconscious feelings and emotions, some mental blocks, and that is then that is telling our bodies how to function. And there's some research on that. It's originally came from German New Medicine and by a physician, Reiki Hammer in Germany. You all can do some research on that if you'd like, but essentially his research is based upon the subconscious conflicts that are unresolved and how that affects the brain, but then thereby it affects the certain disease processes in the body and other organs and tissues in the body.
Well, the relationship between the subconscious and the conscious, it just amazes me because every second you're taking in millions of bits of data. On a subconscious level, you process like 99.9% of it. On a conscious level, the most the brain can handle is 40 bits. So what's going on in that subconscious level? Have you ever gone to sleep saying, okay, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to make a decision about that. And you wake up, and that decision's made.
Mm-hmm, right. And there's certain ways, I'm going to say therapies or solutions that we can help resolve some of those subconscious conflicts and clear our minds of that because we don't know consciously what's going on. Okay, but say in quality sleep, because it's in our dream state, that REM sleep. Our brain is letting go of all that we have been taking in during the day time, or that we've maybe been conflicted about, but we push down. Well, the dream state actually, and the brain will clear that in our dream state. That is another reason why it's so important for us to get quality sleep and go into that deeper state of REM and delta wave state of sleep. The other way to help clear some of those subconscious maybe conflicts or mental blocks or psyche-emotional blocks is going to be prayer and meditation. Whatever your spirituality is that helps to clear the mind. And it may not be anything, most of the time it's not with anything that you're aware of, but when you have silence, and there's even, like, I'm going to say, I'll call it myself, silent therapy, okay? That's where there's quietness, and you can meditate and pray, no matter whoever you're praying to, or a supreme being. Getting in a level of daily forgiveness. Okay.
And gratefulness and thankfulness.
That's right. I mean, that also helps us because that negativity, I'm going to say, is called negative toxic emotions and toxic thoughts. Toxic thoughts and toxic emotions will create mental and psyche-emotional blocks to health and healing.
See, we speak the same language. I call those self-defeating thoughts. Mm-hmm. All that negative chit-chat you have going on in your brain, and we all have it. Mm-hmm. I have my good friends, the shoulds and the musts. I should do that. I must do that. Then I bring out my buddy, the half. I have to do that. And it doesn't work.
No, it creates burden. It creates stress. When actually we have everything, we don't realize this, but we have everything that we need.
We just need to recognize that we have it and
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes, that's right. So in regards to that brain and heart connection, another therapy then, other than those cheapest ones that we just talked about.
Right.
Okay. Then there is, I'm going to say, this recall healing or German new medicine from that came from Dr. Hammer, and that is a type of therapy that digs in, opens up the subconscious to help release some repressed or suppressed memories and thoughts and all of that. That could be affecting health, and then also a sound healing therapy called the EVOX, and that's less invasive, so it's just using sound frequencies from the voice and feeds it back to the person to help unblock certain mental conflicts.
Well, I learned so much. I just recently got certified in trauma. Mm-hmm. And everybody's had trauma, and I've dealt with it so long that I thought, I really need to take my understanding to a higher level. And I'm amazed at how a lot of trauma lives in the body, and you can't release it because it's in that subconscious state unless you take different approaches. Whether it's sound therapy or it's it's not focusing on what triggers the traumatic memory, because it lives in the body. Most people don't know when they're going to get triggered. They don't know why.
That's right. And I do believe, too, there's certain neurofeedback protocols, too, to help open up some of those neuron pathways that are blocked. That's also holding in some of that trauma. Am I correct?
You are correct. And there are just, I used to just think, well, neurofeedback, and now I've learned neurofeedback is a big part of it, but there's a lot of other things. And the more holistically that we can come at it, the better results we'll get, and the longer those results will last.
That's right. It's synergy. It's holistic. It's not just addressing one part of the body. It's the body as a whole.
So you do so many different things at your center. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that it would be great for our listeners to know about?
I think one of the more complex subject matters is frequency therapy, and actually that I'm going to say is probably a specialty and what's also unique, other than the manual lymph drainage that we do, and then also the sound therapy and recall healing, but and then of course the body balancing or the cranial therapy. The frequency therapy is a unique process of detoxification, and it's specific to mobilizing toxins from the body for those people that have difficulty detoxifying. And the type of people that have difficulty, I'm going to just say, is those with some genetic SNPs or some methylating, say, blocks, and they're more fragile. So it could be someone like that, or someone with autism, and someone with blocked sulfation pathways. I know that's a term that's not commonly used, but this form of detoxification can actually identify specific chemicals, insecticides, pesticides, or heavy metals, and shake it loose and mobilize it from the tissues inside cells, and so that it can get into the circulatory system, so then it can excrete from those detoxification organs, such as the skin, the lymphatic system, the bowels, the liver, the kidneys.
Well, if anybody out there had questions or just wanted to learn more about you, what would they do?
Well, you can actually look us up online under Center for Holistic Healing, or Julia Schulenburg, just my name, and Center for Holistic Healing. Or probably the easiest way is to call us at 972-458-3000. Very easy number to remember.
That is an easy number.
or our email address is also center@holistichealingjs.com. But all that information is also on our website.
Okay. Well, we could go on and on because there's so much crossover in my book with the work that you do. And I truly believe that frequency medicine is the future. And I think, we're both the future of medicine. And I know there's a lot of varying opinions. That's just my opinion.
Well, I agree with you, Leigh, because frequency medicine, I believe, is the future. But why? Because we are in an era of artificial intelligence and frequencies all around us. And so,
ask Alexis or whatever she's called. I don't have one.
I don't have one either, or Google. But with all the electromagnetic intelligence and technology all around us, we need to use frequencies also to counteract that, and also use the benefit of God's creation, because those are healthy frequencies. There's plants and trees and the ground, they're all emitting specific frequencies that are actually healthy to our bodies. So we need to get more connected to that, also to counteract all the artificial frequencies that we're surrounded by.
So what I hear you say is try to change your focus from social media and cell phones and Wi-Fi and 5G to more natural. Get outside, breathe some clean air.
That's right. I noticed that in your book it addresses the harmful effects on the brain from social media, the TV, the gaming, and the cell phones and all of that. Yeah, it is a problem, and we need to go back to nature as much as we can.
Wow, I think those are pretty powerful words, and they would be great words to end on. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Dr. Julia, you can call
972-458-3000.
And if anybody wants to learn more, the book is available on my website to buy, or you can call the office and arrange a consultation. My office is 817-500-4863. Thank you so much for being with us today.